Hello everybody, Devon Miller here, and welcome to another video in my YouTube series about my guitar rig. And today we are continuing with the Mesa Boogie Triaxis by taking a look at the lead to yellow mode. Now, of course, the standard disclaimer, I do have all of the effects bypassed in my guitar rig for this video. So what you're hearing is strictly the Mesa Boogie Triaxis, the power amp, and the speaker cabinet.
What does a yellow light mean? Slow down. Okay. What does a yellow light mean? Slow down. Okay. What does yellow light mean? Slow down.
So the lead to yellow mode is a faithful recreation of the fabled Mesa Boogie Mark II C+ overdrive channel. Of course, this amplifier was used by several guitar players in the 80s and the 90s, including Steve Lukather of Toto, George Lynch of Dokken, James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett from Metallica, Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, and of course John Petrucci from Dream Theater. This mode gives you a nice boost in the mid-range frequencies and also provides some sparkly treble frequencies as well. This, of course, is the classic 80s boogie sound.
Let's go around. What are you doing?
So now let's see how each of the controls affect the sound in this mode. Now, of course, just like with the lead to green modes, the lead to yellow, the signal chain actually starts with the treble, middle, and bass controls. Once again, these come before the gain and the drive controls. Now, the treble control in particular does have a little bit more of an effect when shaping your overdrive sound than it did in the previous mode. So at higher settings, as you can see, you get a boost in those ultra-high treble frequencies. You know, they almost kind of blossom as you play at those higher settings. And then at lower settings, the sound does get darker, and that blossoming on the top end disappears.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone.
Now the middle control is not near as prominent as it was in the previous mode. You know, it kind of acts more as kind of a gain boost for the gain control. So at higher settings, you can see that the mid-range frequencies didn't necessarily get boosted that much. It was more the amount of gain and overdrive that's being pushed. That definitely increased. And then at lower settings, you know, the mid-range frequencies did not get scooped out. It was more that the gain got weaker and the overdrive got weaker.
This is about all women. Where would Tina Turner be right now if she'd rolled over and said, "Hit me again, Ike, and put some stank on it"? Rolling on the river, that's where she'd be. But she's beyond Thunderdome because she decided to send a message. Wake up, sisters. There's no such thing as a weaker sex.
And the bass control, it's not as prominent as it has been in previous modes, but you do get a little bit of a boost in the low frequencies at higher settings. And of course, you're also driving that gain that much harder. And then, of course, at lower settings, of course, the sound gets a little bit thinner, and the overdrive gets a little bit weaker because, again, we're not driving that gain control as hard.
Mom? Is that you?
You're there now. Just relax. Been asleep for almost 9 hours now.
Had a horrible nightmare. Dreamed that I went back in time. It was terrible.
Well, safe and sound now, back in good old 1955.
1955? You're my mom.
My name is Lorraine. Lorraine Bates?
Yeah. But you're so thin.
Now, of course, the gain control and the lead 2 drive control are also extremely powerful when shaping your overall overdrive sound. Generally speaking, of course, you want to have the gain control set equal to or higher than the lead 2 drive control for the best results. But there is some exception to that rule. Also, another side note, this mode overall has less gain than the lead 2 green mode, surprisingly. So higher gain and lead 2 drive settings are not uncommon in this mode. So if we set the gain higher than the lead 2 drive, get a nice, beefy power chords. But I've also found that to really get that signature Mesa Boogie overdrive sound where the notes kind of blossom and you get kind of that nice scrapey pick sound, you actually have to have the gain set lower than the lead 2 drive control. And that gives you that nice, kind of 80s Mesa Boogie sound. Of course, the lead 1 drive control has no function in this mode, so we're going to skip over that. Next we come to the master, which again, as with all the other modes, higher settings are louder, lower settings are quieter, pretty self-explanatory, don't need to go over that again.
Where am I?
You're in the Ministry of Defense. It's 1997. You've been cryogenically frozen for 30 years.
Who are these people?
The shouting is a temporary side effect of the unfreezing process.
Yes, I'm having difficulty controlling the volume of my voice.
Next, of course, we come to the presence control. The presence control is right at home in this mode, really bringing out those top-end frequencies and that harmonic content to really accent that pick attack. So if you're looking for distinction in your notes, that presence control is your best friend. And of course, at lower settings, that pick attack goes away.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towel?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
And finally, the dynamic voice control can be used to add some of that those low-end frequencies and high-end frequencies at the end of the signal chain to really bring the guitar to life and fatten it up a lot. And of course, if you're into the really heavy scooped death metal thing, add a lot of that dynamic voice.
What is the soup du jour?
It's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that. Feels good to mingle with these laid-back country folk, don't it, Hare? I like it a lot.
So the Triaxis comes with two pre-programmed factory presets for this mode. The first one is a kind of a classic 80s rock sound. So as you can see, they have the gain set to 7.5, so really pushing that gain control quite a bit. Treble is set to 5, so keeping that kind of in the middle of the road. They don't want the sound to get too bright or too dark. Middle control is set to 4, so backing off on that middle control just a little bit, probably because we've already got such a high gain setting, we don't need to boost the middle control before that gain setting to increase the overdrive any more than it already is. Bass control is set to 5, so once again keeping that pretty much in the middle of the road. Lead 1 drive is set to 0, it has no function in this mode. Lead 2 drive is set to a 6.5, so again a higher lead 2 drive setting. Master is set at a 4.5. So backing off on that master just a little bit, probably because we have such a high gain and lead 2 drive setting. Presence is set to a 3.5, so if you notice, this sound is quite a bit darker, and that's primarily because the presence control is set so low. And in conjunction with that, the dynamic voice is set to 0, so not using the dynamic voice at all in this mode. Again, kind of keeping this sound a little bit more mid-range heavy and not really boosting those low frequencies and high frequencies.
What's that? tumbler? Oh, you wouldn't be interested in that.
She was built as a bridging vehicle. During combat, 2 of these would jump over a river towing cables. And over here on the throttle, flip that open and throttle up. This will boost you into a rampless jump. Right now!
So the other pre-programmed factory preset in the Mesa Boogie Triaxis is kind of a heavier Metallica-inspired rock sound. So as you can see, we've got the gain set to 8. Of course, pretty high gain setting for this heavy rock sound. Treble is set to a 5.5, so pretty middle of the road, maybe boosting it slightly before the gain control, bringing out some of those higher end frequencies to be overdriven. Middle is set to 4, so backing off on the middle control just a little bit. Don't want as much of that boosting the gain control in front of it. Bass is set to 3.5, so really backing off on that bass frequency control ahead of the gain. We don't want a lot of low end frequencies in that overdrive sound. Lead 1 drive is set to 0. It has no function in this mode. Lead 2 drive is set at a 6.5. So once again, pretty high setting on that control. Master is set to a 4. So I have to back off on that master just a little bit, probably due to the gain setting and the lead 2 drive setting being so high. Presence is also at a 4, so bringing the presence control in a little bit more than the last preset that we looked at, kind of brighten up that top end of the sound a little bit, bring out the pick attack. And dynamic voice is set to a 6. And this is where we're really rolling in those low frequencies and those high frequencies at the tail end of the sound to really, make the guitar sound huge and give it that heavy rock sound.
Now listen, lad. In 20 minutes, you're getting married to a girl whose father owns the biggest tracts of open land in Britain.
But I don't want land.
Listen, Alice.
Herbert.
We live on a bloody swamp. We need all the land we can get.
But I don't like her.
Don't like her? What's wrong with her? She's beautiful, she's rich, she's got huge tracts of land.
So I use this mode for 3 main sounds. The first one is kind of a John Petrucci-inspired overdrive sound that I would use on like the solo for Hotel California. And I've also used this sound on the song Black Hat by Janet Jackson. And I've also used this for kind of a 90s modern rock sound for the song Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. So, as you can see, I've got the gain set to 6, so, kind of boosting the gain control a little bit, but not getting, super high on that. Treble I've got set to a 4.5, so kind of backing off on the treble frequencies just a tad. Middle control I do have set to 6, so, I'm kind of slamming that gain control a little bit harder with the middle control on the front end of this sound. Bass control I've got set to 3, so really backing off on those bass frequencies a little bit. I don't want that too much of that on the front end of this sound. Lead 1 drive I've got set to 0. It has no function in this mode. Lead 2 drive is set at a 6.5, so Here's one of those examples where I've got the lead 2 drive set higher than the gain control to really give me that signature, Mesa Boogie sound, to where the notes kind of blossom and you get some of that pick scrape in there. Master I've got set to 5, so average output volume. Presence I've got set to 4, so boosting that those ultra high frequencies to bring out the pick attack a little bit, but not too much, because I'm already getting it in other areas of the sound. And dynamic voice I've got set to 5, so here's where we're rolling in those low frequencies and the high frequencies at the tail end of the sound, to really bring the guitar to life and make it sound huge.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No, I thought not.
Darth Plagueis was a dark lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise, he could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side, he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying.
He could actually save people from death.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
So the second way that I would use this mode is for kind of a Neil Sean inspired overdrive sound that I would use on the song Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. And of course I've also used it on the song Lights. So as you can see, I've got the gain set to 6, so boosting the gain control a little bit, but not getting too crazy with it. Treble I've got set to 8, so really boosting those treble frequencies that are hitting the front end of that gain control, accenting those higher frequencies in the overdrive. Middle I've got set to 5, so keeping the middle control pretty average. Bass I've got set to 2, so backing off on those bass frequencies that are hitting the front end of that gain control. So I don't want too much bass frequency at the front end of this sound. Lead 1 drive is set to 0. It has no function in this mode. Lead 2 drive is set to 4, so again, going back to my general rule of thumb, start with the gain control set at 6 and the drive control set at 4, and go from there. And I thought that sounded just fine the way it was, so I left it set there. Master I've got set to 5, so average output volume. Presence I've got set to 7, so really boosting that presence control to bring out the pick attack and the distinction in the notes. And dynamic voice I've got set to 3. Because I'm boosting the treble frequencies so much and those higher frequencies so much earlier in the sound, I really didn't see a need to bring too much of the dynamic voice in there, because I don't want those treble frequencies to get too out of control at the tail end.
Understand it. This place should be jumping.
Well, we just need to kick it up a notch. Horace, hit it. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took the midnight train going anywhere.
Oh, Peter, don't make me do that. Just a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit. He took the midnight train going anywhere.
Oh, God, I love this song. And I love it when amateurs sing the lyrics. But I hate baseball cards.
Some will win, some will lose. Some are born to sing the blues.
Oh, the movie never ends. goes on and on and on and on and on.
Hey, that's Journey. Kick ass!
Howard! Oh!
That is Journey.
Streetlight people.
Get some! Get some! Guys, we were freaking electric!
Yeah, they loved us.
And the final way that I would use this sound is for the second chorus of the song Magic Man. There's kind of a violin-like twin guitar part that happens behind the vocals. It sounds like this. Now, when we start talking about the effects, I will get into how I reproduce that second guitar part in that section. But for now, the settings of the core sound are gain is once again set to 6. So again, you know, keeping it, boosting it a little bit, but not getting too crazy with it. Treble is set to 7. So again, I'm boosting those treble frequencies, just not quite as much as we were in the previous sound. Middle, once again, is set to 5, so average mid-range amount hitting the front end of that gain control. Bass is set to 3, so backing off again on those bass frequencies, just not as much as we were on the last sound. You know, this sound needs to be just a little bit thicker, but not too much, because I'm already, you know, playing that sound with the neck pickup, which gives you a more mellow sound, whereas, you know, if it was the bridge pickup, that's a lot brighter. Of course, lead 1 drive is set to 0. It has no function in this mode. Lead 2 drive is set to 4, so, you know, once again, going back to that rule of thumb, 6 on the gain, 4 on the drive, and it sounded perfectly fine where it was, so I just left it there. Master is set at a 5.0, so, you know, average output volume. Once again, the presence is set to 7, so again, trying to bring out some of that pick attack, especially with the mellower neck pickup. And dynamic voice is once again set to 3. You know, again, not wanting to bring too much of that dynamic voice at the tail end. I don't want to scoop out that sound too much. Just a little bit to, once again, bring the guitar to life and, you know, make it sound big.
Mom, is that you?
Just relax, Marty. You've been asleep for almost 2 hours.
Oh, I had a horrible nightmare. It was terrible.
You're safe and sound now. Back on the good old 27th floor.
27th floor! Ah! 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 Mom? Mom, that can't be you.
Oh, yes, it's me, Marty. Are you all right?
I'm fine. It's just that you're so big.
Oh, everything's gonna be fine, Marty. Are you hungry? I can call room service.
Room service?
Well, that pretty much does it for the lead 2 yellow mode. So please, as always, throw a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about this video series. And next time we'll take a look at the final mode of the Mesa Boogie Triaxis, the lead 2 red mode. So until next time, goodbye for now, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.